raising the asteroid fields. The guardian Zoids, they counter-strike while tremble underfoot. Battle cries ring across endless void. Red and blue, they flash for Zoidstar. Electric skies burn bright. Armored titans in mechanical wars. Zoidstar with on the terrible is their Caesar. Red Zoid army marches across the wastes. The metallic tang of war suits their tastes. Mammoth the destroyer follows behind. Spine back and hell runner obey them blind. Slime and tarantula attack fearless. Flying sergeant terror and a peerless. The red and blue Zoids now clash for Zoidstar. Republican Empire. The clash of the Zoids spawn strife and fire. Hell is blade like the best style of dinosaur. We must create the Crimson Zoid spawn now. From Geno's sword comes this new breed of Zoid. With hellish red armor he comes from the void. His name Geno Breaker, he will turn the tide. Hellish Republic has no place to hide. Clawing and biting us into the fray. Tyrannosaurus machines, Zoid blood spray. With charged particle gun, he'll seize the day. Geno Breaker blows his enemies away. Unmatched power, Geno Breaker will fight, crushing the Hellish Zoids with guileless fight. None can endure his charged particle gun. The Hellish army must perish or run. Up comes the rival